Call the meeting to order for our annual meeting of the Oakland County Board of Commissioners at 9:57 a.m. And ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioners Cavell? Here. Gershenson? Here. Gingell? Hoffman? Yes, here. Jackson? Here. Johnson?
Present.
Joliet? Here. Long?
Here.
Lubes is excused. Markham? Markham's not here. Okay. McGilvery is excused. Miller is excused. Nelson? Powell? Here. Rahman?
Present.
Smith Charles?
Present.
Spiz?
Present.
Whitebert?
Here.
Woodward?
Here.
Markham?
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The invocation for today's meeting will be given by the Honorable Angela Powell, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone please bow their heads? Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for bringing us to our board meeting safely. Please continue to watch over our families as elected officials and also our communities. Also, continue to allow us as elected officials to do the work that you put us here to do and continue to build our communities as you see fit for us to do. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Powell. Next up, I need an approval of the minutes from our September 14th meeting, moved by Cavell, seconded by Markham. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the minutes were approved unanimously. Next up, we need approval of the agenda. I'm going to ask for one slight modification. I want to move the consent and regular agenda up to up in front of presentations to accommodate people's schedules. And then I'm going to move finance first of the standing committees on the regular agenda. So it's just more of a tweak. We'll do all the same content. We're just going to take the stuff up sooner. So with that modification,
one question.
Yes, Commissioner
Are we doing
Smith.
consent first still?
We'll still do consent, and then
Okay.
we will go to standing committees, start with finance, and then follow it the regular way.
Thank you.
Can I also request to have 12J pulled off the consent and put on the regular?
12J.
Yep.
Yes, pulling it off the consent agenda, sure. Yes, so.
Thank you.
Can I request 14A be moved to be after B and C?
14A. Oh, yes, that'll be the last thing, yeah. So we'll start with the public hearing for the county budget. Got it, that's fine. Does that make sense to people?
Yeah.
Doing all the things, we're just doing them in a little bit different order. And I will remind where we are across the process. So we pulled one item from the consent, and we reorganized items under finance, and
Refresh.
and then, yeah, I think staff is trying to do it. You might refresh. If not, I will coach you along. So with those modifications to the agenda, original agenda, so can someone move that agenda? Moved by Rahman, seconded by Whitebert. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Let the record reflect the agenda has been adopted. That will bring us to, and we'll get back to the other things in a moment. So we'll do presentations at the end. The first public comment to deal with things on the agenda. Is there anyone here to speak on items on the agenda? Seeing none, I will close the first public comment, and that will bring us to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Cavell, seconded by Smith Charles. Any discussion? The item that was asked to be moved off the consent agenda by Commissioner Spiz has been moved, so it's all the other items if your device has not refreshed. Any other items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The consent agenda is adopted. Just want to remind people, if just the AV team is asking me, I have this nice friendly reminder to say, turn on your mic and speak into it if to be heard, particularly out to the outside world. Okay, great. That passes, and that moves us to our regular agenda, and we're going to take up the Finance Committee first, and so I will call on Commissioner Markham. The first thing we have to do is call a public hearing for the 24-26 Oakland County budget, and we'll declare that public hearing open at 10:03 a.m. This is an opportunity for the public. We'll have 3 public comments today. This is the public hearings required by law for the county budget. If you have anything that you would like to address the board on as it relates to that, please raise your hand and come forward. Anyone come for the public comment? See none, I will close the public hearing for the Oakland County budget, and that will move us to the next item, and I will call on Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, everybody. Before we start on this, I just want to take personal license to say I really appreciate the work of our Finance Committee, our staff, and also the departments and their staff to work through this process. We had a lot of meetings, a lot of hours, a lot of information came out, but I felt it was a really healthy process and that we have a budget that works for the people. And I want to thank everybody who participated in all of that work. Would everybody that's on the Finance Committee please raise your hand? Y'all owe them an extra pat on the back. Thank you, because they had to go to a lot of meetings. And attendance was great. I was really, pleased with how many people really were able to get to every meeting that we held. It's not easy in the middle of the day when a lot of us have other real jobs, so thank you very much. And with that, we will move on to item 12C, which is the FY 2024 General Appropriations Act and 2024 County General Property Taxes. I will move that.
Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. And any discussion? Well, we have a few amendments, so why don't we start with them?
All right. The first amendment that we have is the Tri-Party Road Improvement Program. Okay.
Yep, moved by.
Should I move it or?
Wait 1 second here. I'm just checking. Is it? There we go. Sir, I moved by Markham, seconded by Weipert. Any discussion? Commissioner Long.
Just real quick, because I know we have a lot on the agenda, that Tri-Party Road Improvement Program is very essential for the local townships to do smaller road projects because the cost of projects are so much now, but they appreciate the Tri-Party program. So thank you.
Yeah, for those real quick who don't know, the Tri-Party program is a combined program between the Road Commission, the local community, and the Board of Commissioners. We all put in money to fix the local roads that are identified by the local community for having the need. So that's what this program is.
Any further discussion on adding the amendment to support, continue to fund the Tri-Party program? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment is adopted. Next up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is the Township Special Assessment District Road Repair Partnership with the Road Commission for Oakland County.
Moved by Commissioner Joliet, seconded by Commissioner Rahman. Any discussion? Commissioner Joliet.
I just want to say thank you, recognizing the need for this, and the special assessments that the Road Commission has right now are significantly up from what last year's were that are in process. So I think it's working.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson.
I would like to request an update on the monies that have been spent and.
Yeah,
and where-
no monies have been spent yet, but actually that's been waiting to get on, they have the list, so it's just waiting to get on the economic development agenda, which I would like to see too, so it can get appropriated, yeah.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Is it not working? No. Can we get the staff to?
If staff can come and help assist Commissioner Johnson.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment is adopted. Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next up is the Local Road Improvement Program, which is a partnership between the Board of Commissioners and the local communities. And I just want to say, you know, we all want the roads fixed, and these 3 programs that we're voting on, the previous 2 and this one, shows the Board of Commissioners' commitment to the local roads. It's $6 million in this year's budget just for the local roads. So anyway, that's the item.
Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Long. I would just add, $6 million, it also leverages the match, so it continues to build on the success of helping build the infrastructure, fix the infrastructure, and repair the infrastructure across Oakland County. Any other discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment is adopted. Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next up, I will move the suspension of the drain fees paid by Oakland County for the Road Commission of Oakland County.
Moved by Commissioner Cavell, seconded by Commissioner Smith-Charles. I would just say, I think I spoke to many members. The budget as presented to us from the executive office had this additional assessment of the county. We stopped paying in years 25, 26, 27. We're only required to pay 50% of the drain assessments in a road commission area. For the last many years, we have been paying the whole thing out of county general fund for an obligation that falls under the road commission. So this just ensures in this current budget, the 24 budget, that we will be practicing the payment towards the drain districts the same this year, next year, and in an ongoing way. The $850,000 will be assigned to support a taser replacement effort. Does not pay for all of it, but sets money aside, $725,000 for taser replacement. Sets $100,000 aside for performance audits, which is a project that the board's about to undertake to evaluate contracts, and sets $25,000 into the Commissioner's Safer Communities Fund. So it's moved and seconded. Commissioner Long.
So I just have a question, Chairman Woodward. Is this going forward now, but we're not getting reimbursed from all the 50% that we paid that we shouldn't have?
We never got reimbursed.
We are not getting reimbursed?
We don't know. We were giving the money away
Okay.
when someone else should have been paying that bill.
Okay. But this is going forward only, no reimbursement. The reimbursement would have been great.
Yeah.
Maybe not for
That
road
could be
commission.
the next amendment, but no.
Maybe
This is
not. I like
this is
the
for
way
the
she
next.
thinks.
This is
Okay,
for.
maybe not for road commission, but for us it would have been great.
It should have
Sure.
come to us.
Okay,
No.
so good. So whoever found it, that's good find to moving forward. So thank you.
You should buy that person dinner. Yes, but it's also reflected in years 25, 26 throughout the course of this budget. Yes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote. Here, he's right here. Oh, no.
No, you can't vote for him.
Huh?
You can't vote for him.
Okay. Let's just call it, yeah. We'll call it. Call it. Yeah, close the board.
Chair.
Close the board.
Mr. Chair, you have 14 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment is adopted. Madam Clerk.
Okay, last item under the Finance Committee today on our annual budget is the animal control license fee schedule.
Moved by Commissioner Rahman, seconded by Commissioner Cavell, or Commissioner Spiz. Any discussion? Commissioner Spiz? Did you?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Oh. Pre-
Put the mic on, help.
Yeah, turn your mic on.
I just noticed there's a discrimination between cats and dogs on here. I noticed that to adopt a dog, you have to pay $47, but to adopt a cat, you don't have to pay $40. So my proposal for an amendment is to make the adoption fees the same for both cats and dogs, to be equal. And I would propose increasing the adoption fee for cats to $47 to match that for dogs.
I don't think we need to write that up, so we're going to go old school on this one. So Commissioner Spiz is proposing the adoption fees for cats and dogs to be exactly the same.
Yes.
It's under the 4 months.
No, both.
Oh.
They're both the same. No, they're both the same.
All right, so probably a type, Commissioner Spiz, can you state the amendment again
Yep,
so that it can be captured?
My motion is to amend the adoption fee for kittens and cats from $40 to $47 to match that of dogs.
Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. Commissioner Cavell. Turn your mic on, speak into it.
Oh, it's not going to be that funny, so.
I know, the jokes are going to start coming, guys.
Sorry, but I'm glad Mike's in the bigger coverage now. Raise the rate.
What did he say? I didn't hear him.
Wow. No, we're being
Nothing,
friendly
he didn't say
today.
anything, and the mics didn't pick it up. Okay, moving on.
We're
Any
friendly
further
today.
discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Rahman.
Not on the amendment, I was just going to talk about the animal control.
Okay, well, let's take care of the amendment first. It was moved by Spiz. Was there a second? I didn't catch it. Seconded by Cavell. Oh my God, look at the love in the room. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Let's prompt the vote on the amendment.
To
The
raise
amendment
the
to the
fees.
amendment, correct.
Yes. What?
The vote right now is the amendment to the amendment.
Yolanda, she's looking for you.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas, 3 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment to the amendment passes, which brings us back to the original amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Rahman. Oh, wait, you
Yes.
wanted to speak?
Yes, thank
on the
you.
main amendment, yes.
Yes, just on the named amendment. I just wanted to go on record. I know we had talked about this previously in Finance Committee as well. Just want to make sure that our Animal Control Department is doing a aggressive campaign on compliance as well. I certainly appreciate, the move we're making here and hope to recoup some of the costs related to the expanded level of service we're going to be providing, but whatever we can capture in additional licensure and things like that for people who are currently not compliant, just want to make sure that the department is aware and doing just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure the public understands what's really driving these increases. Some may be aware or may not be aware that we've added additional resources at the request of the animal shelter. I believe it was 9 additional resources, which are not funded at this point.
People,
People.
not just resource.
Yeah, people, sorry. 9 additional people, I'm used to calling them resources, but 9 additional people to the animal shelter to help support their needs. So these fee increases are to help pay for that offset for those additional heads that we have now added to the animal shelter.
Right.
So I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would just add to the conversation, Public service announcement is the responsibility of every dog owner to have a dog license in their appropriate jurisdiction, whether that's from the county perspective or a local city. And those fees are used to support animal control operations. And so it's really important that people do that. We want to be working with the animal control to help increase compliance so that we can run the best pet adoption center animal control operation in the state of Michigan, which we do have one of the most robust and great facilities, and it requires the personnel necessary to keep those cages clean and treat our animals well, and make certainly, at the end of the day, protect the public. So I will be supporting as well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas, 3 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. A sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment is adopted. That brings us back to the main motion. I don't see any other amendments. Is there any discussion on the budget as a whole?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Markham.
I would just like to encourage the public as it relates to the Animal Control Center. I should have said this before. If you're thinking about adopting a pet, talk to us. We have almost 400 animals. They are very well kept. Our animal control, they are trained. They're really great. If you don't know where to go look for a pet, come to Oakland County Animal Control first. That's my editorial comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Spiz.
This is on the budget as a whole.
On the whole budget as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to say, as we continue here in Oakland County to move forward with balanced budgets on a three-year outlook or 3-year plan with a 5-year outlook, I will be supporting this year's budget. But one thing I do want to say, we as a Board of Commissioners, the administration, and all the leaders within Oakland County, I think we need to start being a little bit more cognizant on what we're doing. A lot of us feel that, me being one of them, feel that over the last year or couple of years, we've been starting to edge up in our spend. Yes, because of COVID, yes, because of ARPA monies, yes, we've been able to do that, but now a lot of that money is starting to go away, so we need to be a lot more cautious about what we're doing. So I will be looking at everything going forward a lot tighter. That includes new resources, new people, individuals, and be looking for a good business plan before I approve anything as such going forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion, Commissioner Powell?
I was going to say thanks to my colleague for those comments, because also we know that it's been instructed that we have to be very conscious and creative moving forward, because a lot of the extra funding that we have come to for COVID reasons and other things, that is going to be declining. So yes, let's be very cautious of our decisions moving forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Cavell.
Just real quick, I wanted to say that as Chair Markham gave plaudits to the finance team and the finance committee, and if we all recall from our presentations from Kyle, that this will be, after years of work with Kyle and the finance team, we'll be in structural balance and then have a $200,000 surplus, I believe, and then that will grow over time. So I think we're going to be having
100 million.
200 mil. No, that's the rainy day fund. All right, you get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we're spending the money right.
Right. Thank you. I would, it shouldn't be underscored. I mean, the Finance Committee has spent time looking at every single department and spending considerable amount of time asking them, asking the leaders of those departments, not only just to explain their budgets, but where need and support is, and the culture that's been fostered in this county is to stretch those dollars as far as possible to deliver the best services for the public that we serve. I'm very proud of this budget because I think we are truly living into a truth in budgeting that the dollars coming into the budget are to match as closely as possible the dollars that get spent to provide the said services that we all believe are important, particularly in the areas of public safety, public health, and the other core services that we do. And so I think it's To be able to do that, to have a very healthy fund balance that altogether helps preserve the AAA bond rating. This is a budget that I would say is a premier example of all of us coming here together to fund priorities that are necessary to support our residents and our local communities and put us in a position to weather tough economic storms if they ever do exist on the horizon. So kudos to the chair of finance as well as all the finance members that I know put in the most work to get us to this point. I also want to thank the administration who makes themselves completely available, put together a product that I'm very proud and happy to vote for this budget this morning. Any other discussion? See none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the votes on the 2024 county general property tax, the budget for Oakland County.
I hope everybody votes yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number in the affirmative. We have passed a unanimous budget for the next year. Commissioner Markham.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the report of the Finance Committee for today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. There's one more. I'm sorry. Yep.
Sorry. We have one more item.
We have one more item. Madam Clerk.
Sorry.
Madam
I forgot.
Chair. Commissioner Markham.
Okay. Next up, we have item 12A, which is the sponsorship of the Greater Detroit Comedy Festival presented by the City of Pontiac. Commissioner Cavell, right?
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Cavell. Into the mic, yep.
I'm going to abstain from this vote because upon advice from Corporation Counsel, I'm abstaining from voting due to a potential possible personal conflict of interest because I am the subordinate of one of the people of this event, and there might be a perception of impropriety if I vote for this.
Lawyers.
Yes. Okay. Abstention noted. Any discussion? Commissioner Spitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to this, if possible. Actually, I'm going to make an amendment. Make a motion to make an amendment to this.
Okay.
I'd like to change the 15,000 to 5,000.
Like to what?
Oh, we were on to such a good start. Commissioner Spiz makes a motion to decrease it from 15,000 to 5,000. Moved by Spiz. Is there a second? Seconded by Joliet. Any discussion? Commissioner Spiz.
And my rationale behind this is we've been spending a lot of our special project funds on what I consider sponsorships. And I understood that our sponsorship level is more at the $5,000 level, not the $15,000 level. So I'd like to see us stick to those sponsorship levels. I know we've had discussion about going forward and doing this. So I put forward the motion to make this $5,000 in this case.
Okay. Any further discussion? I'm not going to support this amendment. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
It's on the amendment, right?
On the amendment.
Okay.
Because this came up as the sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So the vote that's being prompted is on the amendment, which is just the dollar amount change.
So no.
Mr. Chair, you have 6 yeas, 8 nays. And 1 abstention.
Insufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment fails. That brings us back to the main motion. Any discussion? Commissioner Joliet.
I echo my fellow commissioners' thoughts, is that I support this sponsorship on face value. I just think that we need to reel it back in terms of what we're spending right now, because I think the account has been quite drawn down at this point. So what we'd have left for next year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 3 nays, and 1 abstention.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk. Commissioner Markham.
I knew who you meant. Yes, Mr. Chair, that actually concludes the report of the Finance Committee for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It'll move us to economic development.
They renumbered everything, I think, right?
And Commissioner Charles.
Mr. Chair. What about the one we pulled off consent?
Chairman Woodward, I think we still have one that we pulled off consent.
I'm sorry, say it again?
I think we still have, where was that at? Yeah, 12J.
One second. You're right. We'll go back to it.
Was that finance though? I'm just making sure.
We'll come back to it.
No, that's
Okay.
not on finance.
Okay, that's a different one? Yep. Still not ready to vote on.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to Commissioner Smith Charles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise before you today for the appropriation of Oakland County Transportation Millage Funds for planning community transit service area development with partner transportation agencies. And yes, it was 4-1 in committee.
Moved by Commissioner Smith Charles. Excuse me. Seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion? No discussion. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 14 yeas, 1 nay.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted.
That concludes the regular agenda for EDI.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Commissioner Smith Charles. This will move. Do we need to go back?
No.
No.
It's 15.
It's.
Public health.
That's right. It's in public health and safety. That's why. Okay, good. Thank you. No problem. Next up is Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to MCL 168.24C, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners is required to fill 2 vacancies on the Oakland County Board of Commissioners. This is the only item from the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee. Do I move to open the election process?
So in terms of the process, why don't let's hand it over to Clerk Brown, who technically facilitates this and explains what we have to do.
Madam Clerk, I yield to you.
You should have your ballot in front of you. You are to select 1 Democrat and 1 Republican. This is for the Board of Canvassers. This is a 4-year term. Our canvassers rotate, so in another 2 years, the other 2 will be up. And I think that's self-explanatory.
That's self-explanatory. Perfect. So you mark out the ballot. Does anyone want to speak prior to the ballots being submitted? Commissioner Smith Charles.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Could be semantics, and I don't know why it didn't stand out earlier, but it can't say just Democrat nominee. It has to say Democratic nominee. It reads weird. I mean, it's a Republican nominee and a Democrat nominee versus a Democratic nominee by definition.
It isn't, yours says Democrat or Democratic?
Democratic.
So these are nominees from the Democratic Party. I think that's why it's listed that way, and the Republican Party.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're good. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Do you want to?
When you've completed your ballot, please bring them up to me. Thank you.
Robert? Bob? Bob with 1 over.
I just want to say hand counting is not the way to conduct an election. But anyway. Under the Republican nominees, Bill Lethaman received 4 votes. Tim Morrow Vetter did not receive any votes. Lori Skibo did not receive any votes. Under the Democratic nominees, Sharon Baseman received 1 vote. Phil Reed did not receive any votes. And Charlene Yarborough received 13 votes.
Okay, under that scenario, Charlene Yarborough is selected as the Democratic nominee, not a sufficient number of votes cast for the Republican nominee. Not a sufficient. Need 10 votes. Okay, I guess that's that. Commissioner Spiz.
Could you please comment publicly what the next steps are? When that happens?
So the Board of Canvasser term expires October 31st. The Board of Commission has 10 days following our annual meeting, which is today, to make a decision. If the position is not filled by the Board of Commissioners, it is considered vacant, and then the law says that the county party chair will submit 3 names and the county clerk shall pick.
Thank you.
Did I get that right, Madam Clerk? Okay. All right, good, okay. Commissioner Johnson.
Well, with no further discussion, that concludes the report of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee.
Okay. Moving on to Public Health and Safety. Who's the Vice Chair of Public Health and Safety?
No, she's the chair. Who's the
Penny's the chair, but Penny's not here. Who's the Vice? Commissioner Powell. I generally remember these things, but that's a lot of memory.
Okay,
so there's just one item. This was pulled from the consent agenda. So Commissioner Powell moves the interlocal agreement with Oakland Schools for the 2023-2024 School Resource Officer contract, moved by Commissioner Powell, seconded by Commissioner Yolanda Smith-Charles. And this was pulled off for discussion. Commissioner Spiz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have 2 questions on this. One being, it doesn't state in the resolution where the 4 officers are going to be located. I believe it's VOTEC.
it's all of the OTEC centers,
Okay,
the
I just
4
wanted to
locations
put it on
that
a
they
record so
have.
everybody knows that they're going to be at the VOTEC centers. Second question is, with the Safe Communities Fund for the dollar, how are those numbers going to be calculated? Because those students are coming from other municipalities and other school districts that may potentially also be paying $1 for them if they have a school resource officer at that school. So do they get charged? Does that student count twice? Because now they're going to the OTEC and they're also at a municipality that has a student, even though this may not be in place yet. So that is my big
That's the question. And Commissioner Cavell, do you want to address the
I was
Commissioner?
just going to say, gosh, this sounds like quite a quandary. It's almost as if some communities in Oakland County pay property taxes for local police, and then 40% of their property taxes to the county go to pay for the sheriff. Do you mean double taxing kind of like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The way that it's calculated, so the VOTEC program has a student enrollment, and you enroll into that program just like any other school, and it's based on that. So whatever that number is what the amount was. And I had an opportunity to talk to the superintendent of Oakland Schools. Very excited about this opportunity, very excited about this contract, supports it, and I support it as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Thank you, Chair, for your assistance.
There you go. Yep.
Mr. Chair, you have 14 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Thank you, Commissioner Powell. I believe that takes care of all of our regular agenda items. And I want to thank everyone for being accommodating of the schedule. And that will bring us, we're going to kind of like come back to presentations. We have 2 proclamations part of today's meeting. And so I'll first call on Commissioner Yolanda Smith-Charles to present the Child and Parent Violence and Abuse Awareness Day. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really pleased to bring this to your awareness, and there was a resolution in consent that went forward to really hone in on our commitment to this issue in terms of awareness. I'd like to invite up some special guests and have you come around. I guess you can come around this way. Child to parent violence, a lot of folks are unfamiliar with. It's also called CPVA. I wanted to make sure I got that last name correct. So Tabitha Ross Brown is here with us today, and I want to share with you just a little bit about this proclamation. Oakland County is a safe and welcoming community for diverse sizes and kinds of families, yet raising awareness about an often unreported form of domestic violence is critical to ensuring the security for all. Child-to-parent violence and abuse is physical, emotional, psychological, financial, and/or sexual violence perpetrated by a child towards a parent or caregiver. It can affect any family, regardless of ethnic background or socioeconomic class, but it is estimated to be more prevalent towards women and single mom families. Children with mental illnesses or trauma-related behavioral issues may be more prone to engage in CPVA because these underlying conditions can manifest in violence. Many forms of domestic abuse are well known, with public resources established to identify, intervene, and protect its victims. But the occurrence of CPVA is underreported, which leads to a lack of awareness, further stigmatization, and also it leaves those parents, those abused parents and family members to suffer in silence with limited access to solutions or support. Parent Real Talk, a social impact organization based in the Metro Detroit area, is driven by the mission of bringing awareness to the challenges faced by parents, caregivers, and guardians raising children touched by mental health issues or exhibiting violent behavior. It advocates for the victims of CPVA and provides online resources and a forum for them to share information on children's mental health and juvenile justice. So, whereas through sustained systemic change, we can better meet the needs of families experiencing CPVA. Now, therefore, David T. Woodward, Chair of the Board of Commissioners, Yolanda Smith-Charles, and the entire Oakland County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 14th as Child-to-Parent Violence and Abuse Awareness Day in Oakland County. I'd like to welcome up Tabitha and present this to you, but also I know you had a couple of comments and some words to bring. I'd love for you to go ahead and share that.
Thank you. Commissioner, thank you for this recognition. To the Commission Chair and Board, I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to stand before you to raise awareness on an issue that impacts families worldwide. I am mindful as I stand here today that somewhere there is a grandparent assaulted, a step-parent raped, or a parent murdered. The CDC recognizes, provides support and guidance on abuse of children, abuse in teen dating, abuse of intimate partners, and abuse of elders, but no support or guidance on abuse of parents. Child-to-parent violence and abuse is not a new phenomenon. 16 years ago, in 2007, there were 9,553 parent victims of domestic violence in the state of Michigan. Last year, the state police reported there were in total 7,943 parent, step-parent, and grandparent victims of domestic violence, of which 509 were residents of Oakland County. Sadly, this number is more than likely to be significantly higher as not all incidents are reported due to stigma and shame. When I talk about child-to-parent violence and abuse, I'm talking about the behaviors being displayed and the response or lack of response to those behaviors. I am not campaigning to criminalize children, but I am advocating for these adverse parental experiences to be recognized for what it is, domestic violence, and for parents, caregivers, siblings, and the child to be afforded the same support and resources provided to victims and offenders of other recognized forms of domestic violence. On April 3rd of this year, a Facebook group of parents went before the Health and Human Services Appropriations Committee to advocate for proper mental health services for their children. Some of these parents spoke of violence in the home. If you are wondering what CPVA looks like and how it impacts families and the community, here is a lived experience of a Shiawassee County mother who wrote a letter because she could not be there in person. And I quote, "At this time, when we call 911 for help to keep us safe, Central Dispatch notifies the local police and the 2 state troopers to respond to our eldest son's mental issues and his resulting actions. Since June of 2020, he has masked multiple assault charges. The police has responded for hitting a teacher in the head with a rock, causing great bodily harm, for assaulting people with deadly weapons, for attacking police officers, for attempting to get police officers' guns twice, for physically assaulting me, and I have 3 herniated discs in my neck from one assault, for assaulting his stepdad, assaulting his biological dad, assaulting his grandfather, assaulting his brother, assaulting other children in the community, and assaulting other teachers. I have pictures of the results of the assaults, punches, kicks, digs, bites, and strangulation marks, should anyone want to see them. In that time, community mental health points a finger at the justice system, and the justice system finds him incompetent to face charges and points the finger back at community mental health. No one will help him, so the entire community continues to suffer. My eldest son is released back to me immediately after arrest and refusal of placement, and I am told to do my best to keep him safe. Mom continues to share her story, but I say this: if this child, who is around 15 or 16 years old, was 25 years old, I believe it to be highly unlikely that with multiple assaults of family and community violence and attempts to disarm police officers, that he would be released and not held accountable due to his mental status. Not all children who exhibit these behaviors have a mental illness, so we need to be careful, but to not look at CPVA through the lens of mental health, even though it seems as though there is a parallel path. Domestic violence in the home by a child causes adverse parental experiences and adverse childhood experiences for siblings and other children in the home. I will leave you with this. At this time, this child is the parent's responsibility, but when he turns 18, he will become someone else's liability. Once again, I thank you for this recognition.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Definitely want to recognize who you brought with you today. A hero, for any less of words, is Reverend Dr. Dee Dee Coleman in the building. You can Google her for all of those details, but thank you for being here. And is it your
My son and my daughter.
son and daughter? Yeah. Thank you for coming up. Let's grab a photo.
I'm smiling.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So over the next couple of days and weeks, you'll see some posts on social media that we're asking commissioners to be sure to share out, all of your various mechanisms. And then also Tabitha's working on a bit of a roundtable. And we're also trying to get some buy-in from partners in Macomb County. So if you know anyone, we'd love to bring them to the fold. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And thank you for bringing attention to this very important issue. Next. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd also like to applaud Commissioner Charles and thank her for bringing forward and shedding light on this distressing and complex issue. Many parents and caregivers experiencing child-to-parent violence often feel neglected, isolated, shame, and humiliation. And I commend organizations like Parent Real Talk for bringing awareness to the many challenges parents and caregivers face. And I encourage other parent-driven organizations to raise awareness and education on this issue as well. Again, it's complex, and it's all about increasing that education and having those conversations and ultimately making sure that the safety and well-being of every single community member is accounted for and valued. So thank you, Commissioner Charles, for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have one more proclamation recognizing Michigan Trails Week, which I believe we are in the midst of. Commissioner Cavell.
Let's see, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so I think I proclaim it Michigan Trails Week. No, okay. All right. Just a couple of notes. Michigan is apparently known as the Trails State. It contains over 13,400 miles of state-managed trails, and in Oakland County's park system, there are 80 miles of trails that are paved or nature trails for year-round use. And so this is to honor that and to make sure it's front of mind for all of us.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Cavell. For the bikers, the hikers, and everyone who loves to be on nature, I mean, it's a great thing. I think it's phenomenal. I actually heard a radio, how I knew we were in the week is that I heard someone who runs the trail system out in Port Huron talking about that the trail will connect all the way from there, will come through Pontiac, and will go all the way to, is it Grand Haven or South Haven? One of the havens. And we are in the process of, there's a little bit of a gap, and we're about to connect that gap, and you'll be able to take this 284-mile trail from one end to the other. It's pretty incredible. So I think it's important to recognize and celebrate with those who work in that space. I know we've juggled the agenda up, but this will now bring us to new and miscellaneous business. And I think that we got 2 items we're going to try to take up. And the first one, Commissioner Cavell.
Chair, I'd like to introduce to be referred to Lago, supporting Michigan House Bills 4062 and 63 and Senate Bills 205 and 207 to prohibit landlords from income-based discrimination.
Referred to Lago without objection. And next up, we have this extending the hybrid work policy resolution. Is there a motion to take this up? Do you want to do this? Okay. So a motion to moved by Commissioner Cavell, seconded by Commissioner Gershenson. Our rule, actually, well, fine. Motion to suspend the rule to take this issue up immediately. Moved by Cavell, seconded by Gershenson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. So moved by Cavell, seconded by Gershenson to take this item up. And I'll speak to it first. This is not a permanent extension of this. This policy expires, is scheduled to expire prior to our next board meeting. And then there would be no policy. So the plan is in the next round of committees, Lago particularly, but any other committee that it's appropriate to be before, that looks at modifications There are outstanding reports. I know the Democratic Caucus, Commissioner Nelson brought this attention to this, things that were supposed to be submitted, and we are going to get all those reports and review and make appropriate modifications, make a decision at that point. So all this resolution extends this to the end of October, so that we have an opportunity for our board meeting that happens after the scheduled expiration of this. This, in all reality, this should have been taken up earlier, but it had a date final to expire, and so all this does is extend it to the end of the month. We will take up this question of modifications and evaluation of this policy in the next round of committees for the next board meeting. If the board determines that we need a little bit more time to work on that, we can make adjustments, extend further, but this just extends it to October 31st. What's currently in place for a few more days, which our next board meeting is technically 4 days after it expires.
Okay, I have a question.
Commissioner Long.
Thank you. So this is just extending the current policy to October 31st, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so for future policies, I just want to remind my fellow commissioners, we just spent $19.2 million on buildings in Pontiac. So if we're going to rural hybrid, we're going to have empty buildings. So for future policy, I have an issue with this hybrid, since we have so many buildings on this campus and we bought more. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to bring it back to what this resolution is. We are literally just extending the policy so that the board can come back, evaluate, make adjustments, change, or discontinue. All these options are available, but the policy is set to expire before our scheduled next board meeting. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Just one, and maybe you said it, but what happens after the, like, where does it go next?
HR policy issues goes to LAGO. To the extent that it has fiscal implications, that would involve finance. If there are other committees that would like to be part of those conversations, we can make sure that, talk to the committee chairs and can have that discussion. I know the administration is open to have conversations with commissioners individually or in groups or whatever, and will be part of the committee process in the next round of committees.
Which isn't until
Commissioner
October
Gustafson.
10th. So that's when it'll come to LAGO.
Correct, yes. The next scheduled LAGO meeting is October 10th. Any further discussion? I think we got it. I mean, in all actuality, it's a 4-day extension because we will take it up. We will take some sort of action at our next board meeting. Commissioner Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for clarification, at the time when it comes back to committee and we're having these discussions, I just want to be sure that the appropriate reports that we discussed today that we did not receive, meaning this body as the board, will be available when it goes through committee. I mean, that's clear, right?
I think yes. I mean, I think Commissioner Johnson, myself will make certain that the administration, the information that's per the current policy, all reports that are due need to be part of this discussion in committee.
Sure, and per the current policy, we should have received at least 2 reports by this time, and we've received 0. So I'm hopeful that when this goes back through the committee process, that the reports that were included in that initial policy resolution will be readily available to discuss as we move forward with this policy.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I mean, a good flag, good important, and very important. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas, 2 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Cavell.
I just want to mention that all of us Democrats are wearing red to support, as Chair I'm sure will speak to support the 150,000 employees of the UAW who are working people, not just resources, but people. And of the UAW's 150,000, I believe we have over 600 UAW members here in Oakland County employee ranks. And I just want to highlight, if we see the scoreboard up there of who voted, just who's voting for flexibility to attract and retain talent and be mindful of workers' quality of life in the process.
Thank you for that announcement. It's good that we're in announcements.
I would like to comment.
Any further announcements? Commissioner Powell, followed by
As a
Commissioner
former
Fitzgerald.
UAW Local 155 member, I just thank my colleagues for wearing your red today, and let's continue to support and encourage UAW to keep standing strong and pray that we eventually get a deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Thank you. Announcement, it's kind of not an announcement, but I'll announce it by just speaking it, is I appreciate what the commissioner over here just said about space and what have you. And I just want to make sure it's on record that Economic Development Infrastructure Committee wants to make sure they're included in the discussion on how we move people and spaces around. Because I feel like we're the public-facing body, and we'll get all of the flack if something's not right. So if we could be a part of those discussions on, how things are matriculating from one space to the other, I think that'll help us in the communities.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Smith-Charles. Any further announcements? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Oakland County is home to 13 magnificent cider mills. I used to work in one. I know a commissioner on the other side comes from a cider mill family. I would just recommend that now is cider mill season. Go explore one of Oakland County's beautiful cider mills.
Thank you for that public service announcement. Everyone, lunch at Long's. No, that's Commissioner Spiz. I'll get you. Commissioner
Yes,
Spiz.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Cavell for the clarification, because I thought, based on the red that everybody was wearing from the Democratic side, that you were finally moving over to help support the Republicans since our color is red. So I do appreciate that. But
I thought you'd appreciate that.
On a fair note, I think most know that my dad is in a UAW. I work in the auto industry. I agree with Commissioner Powell. I hope and pray that they come to an agreement here soon, because it does affect a lot more than just the 600 here, the 150,000 in the state of Michigan, all the other tier 1 suppliers, everybody. It will eventually affect someone some way here soon if a resolution doesn't come by quickly. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Commissioner Spiz. And Commissioner Powell for a second time, and then.
I just forgot to thank my colleagues. Thank you all for supporting the Pontiac Comedy Festival that's coming to our county next year, and we're hoping that things go well, and I can't wait to give you the reviews after it's all said and done next year. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I think Commissioner Cavell pointed out, the strike that's happening right now is going to alter the trajectory of whether or not we stand with and support workers or not. And we can't lose sight of those who are taking the risk of doing this and the financial strain that puts on individual families, anxiety and uncertainty. But I'm proud to stand with UAW, and if you are interested in supporting helping support families, I'm getting regular requests of basic toiletries, diapers, formula that many who are on strike, not just with the auto industry, but other big corporations here in Michigan, and I can point you in the direction to be helpful, supportive of those families as we get through these challenging times. The other thing I just want to mention, and I think it's been mentioned in both caucuses, October 29th, Oakland County is convening a number of our local communities to have a discussion around transit and a host of other issues from 8:30 to 11 at Waterford Oaks Recreation Center. September, did I say October? I mean September, thank you. September 29th, that's coming close. That's why I mentioned it now. So I know that a lot of your communities will be there, your DDA directors will be there or have been invited. I know that they would love to have any of you that would like to participate as well and be there for part of the presentation and be part of the conversation, and how do we continue working together to make transit work for everybody. With that, yeah. So without any other announcements, this will be the second public comment. If anyone hears from the public to address the Board of Commissioners, you can speak now. See no one coming to the podium to speak. I will close the second public comment and we'll stay adjourned until October 19th or call the chair.